You founded Baseload Capital 7 years ago.
Yes.
And just the other week, you landed a huge investment of 53 million euros.
We landed, yes.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to make a special episode about this because I know that it's been hard work behind it. And I am going to try to get all the juicy details out of this huge machine of investment. Are you in for that?
For sure.
Are you going to spill the beans? Tell the truth?
Definitely.
Okay,
Let's
start. 7 years ago, what happened? No. There are so many companies out there that are struggling to get investors, to get people on board that believe in what you do enough so that they put their own money and risk into it. I want to deep dive into this. What is successful? What do you need to do? How do you do it? And what are the things you need to think about?
Well, I think when raising capital, you have to first, really identify what is it that you're selling. Like in Baseload case, we build a portfolio of geothermal projects and we need to finance them. So we will need money in different shapes and forms for this project. And this is both equity, which we raised now.
Okay, stop back. Going back again. So you said you really need to understand what you're selling.
Yes.
How do you figure that out?
Well, I think in any company, if you sell a product or a service, you have to understand what is it that, what are the key, unique selling points for what you're offering. And if you know that, then in our case, where we do geothermal projects that have, they are very capital intense, but if you get them online, they will have a very long-term cash flow. Then you can pinpoint.
You're throwing in a lot of difficult words here. Okay, so go from the top. This is a cup of coffee.
Yes.
Sell it. What is it that we actually want to sell here? How do you know what I'm selling when I have this cup of coffee?
Well, the first thing, if I would sell you this cup of coffee, I would first ask you, all right, Kristina, do you like coffee?
I do.
And what type of coffee do you like?
Strong coffee with a little tiny milk inside.
And how do you drink it?
I would love to have a warm cup of coffee in the afternoon to get me more alert.
And do you drink it every day?
I do. A couple of cups a day. Shh.
Okay. So, and how much do you spend on your coffee?
Well, I think that I spend... I'm a little bit cheap. I buy cheap coffee. So I don't spend so much, but I drink very much.
But average on a week?
Well, I would say at least 500 crowns.
All right. So what would you say if I can offer you a high-grade coffee for the same price that gets delivered to your house every day for the foreseeable future? And when you want to, if you would stop or you would like to change, you can just do that.
Well, that would... make it much easier. I don't have to go to the store very often and buy the coffee and go plan for it. That sounds like a good plan.
Very good. So please sign here.
Take a sip. Okay, so you figure out what it is you're actually selling and you're trying to put it in the eyes of the beholder.
Yeah. When raising capital is a lot like sales. First, you have to understand what you have and what you want to sell. Then you have to understand what the investor actually is interested in. So it's not like, you have investors that just come with money. Exactly it's the same way as you make a buying decision. They are making a buying decision while investing into you. So you really need to understand, what mandate do the investors have? What are they looking for? And there are two aspects when it comes to investors. And that is return and risk. And these are many times correlated. So if you have high return, you have high risk. And if you have low return, you usually have low risk. But there are anomalies in this as well. And that's when you can really, get the wheels rolling and make a huge return.
So what you're saying is that I have to understand who the investor is and how they prefer things.
Yes. Well, you need to understand who they are and what they are investing in. Mainly because you want to take away all the investors that don't fit what you're selling. So if you take geothermal, for example, you have in one project very high risk up front. It can also be a very high return, which means that if you have a higher return and high risk, there is a certain type of investor that is interested in that. While other investors don't even want to look at it. So you can take all of them away, and in that way you can narrow it down to be much more specific. So
is that like a target market you need to figure?
Yeah, definitely.
So it is actually very close to sale. You need to find out your product. You need to find the target group.
Yes.
And then what happens?
Well, then you have to, when you have found what investors that you're looking at and what they are interested in, then comes how do you work on the return or the risk side. So if the investor is more focused on the risk, what can you do in order to mitigate that risk? And if you bring that risk down, it will be more attractive to them. And then there's a lot of different things that you can do on that side. If it's on the return side, however, there's a lot of things you can do there. So, you need to not only identify
what they want,
but then also make sure that you can enforce that and make that even better, so that you really connect and also align with them.
So you basically tailor your message or your pitch in this case.
You tailor the message, you tailor the pitch, but then also making sure, because an investor is a long-term commitment, right? This is like a relationship. So you also want to make sure that they are the right fit for you. So it's not like, if I would sell you a subscription of coffee, if you then would drop off, then I can find someone else. If I bring in an investor, they're going to sit there for the foreseeable future. They're going to be a very close partner. It's a marriage.
Yeah, it's a marriage. So basically, bringing home the wrong candidate is going to have big consequences.
Big consequences, yeah. So it's also that you need to make sure that you have the same view, that you're going the same place, that they agree with the business model that you're running, and both the return and the risk levels.
So let's say you've tailored you know what, you know who, you're starting to tailor the message. What happens then? Because you probably have a few candidates left still, right? So what happens? What's the next stage?
Well, if you raising capital takes a long time because of these things. You can go out and you can raise capital in much, if you do a public IPO, you bring in 1,000 different owners, you don't need to do that. But if you really want, one or a couple of committed investors to be there for a long time, you have to work with them so that they see everything that is good, but also everything that is bad, all the mistakes that you have done. Because when they come in, if they are not aware of them, they're going to notice. And that's a very bad start of that.
But you said something that is super interesting. You said, because I think that's contradictory to what other people do. You said they need to know what mistakes you have done.
Yes.
But when I listen to people who are pitching, they're usually telling the story of how good they are, right? So what do you mean with telling the mistakes you've done?
No, but in any business, you do a lot of mistakes. If you bring in an equity investor that's going to be a shareholder in your company, if you go, or if I would go and say that, I started this company 7 years ago, it's a startup company, we have done all of these things and everything have gone smooth, they will immediately know that I'm lying.
Too good to be true, kind of.
It's too good to be true, and it's not honest. It's because everyone does mistakes, and I think if you and they know that, so it's better to go out and tell them about what you have done, what you have learned from it, and how you will take that with you down the future to build that trust as well.
They meet many people who are pitching, so they probably see if you're good or bad, and if you're a liar, they will see through that, right?
For sure.
For sure.
Definitely.
Have you ever been scared when you're telling one of the mistakes you've done? Haven't you been scared to be rejected?
No, I don't think I've been scared. However, of course, when you're sitting on, when you have someone that want to invest, you need that investment. Of course, it's to go out and like be vulnerable in that way is can be a bit scary, and it's also it's something that could lead them to, okay, we're not going to invest. But it's better still to be there to build that trust, because if they don't understand what it takes to build that business, it's not going to be a right fit anyway.
I mean, you mentioned vulnerable. I think that's a word I would like to stay on a little bit. I've been privileged to see this journey. I've been a part of this journey. And I know that it's easy to say like, oh, they got this amount of investments throughout the years and they have investors like this, Breakthrough Energy Ventures or Chevrons or what say you? But the journey of it on a personal level, how has that been?
Busy.
Busy? Elaborate.
No, but I think we've set extremely high ambitions from the start. We have built a fantastic team that also runs very fast. We have done a lot of mistakes that we have learned from. So how do we take those learning? How do we teach that to other team members? How do we develop this? And at the same time, how do we make sure that we have money both to run the company and to grow the company and to invest into the product? So it's a lot of pieces of the puzzle that needs to fit together. Then, looking from the investor point of view, I think it's we've had an idea that we want to bring in investors that not only contribute with capital but also with knowledge, and I think we've succeeded quite a lot. We have succeeded in doing that, and when getting the right investors, it makes it easier when you go out and raise capital the next time.
For sure, all of that's correct, but you didn't answer my question. My question was, how has this journey been from a personal perspective?
Well, I told you busy.
Busy, but other sides of it, has it been smooth all the time?
No. No, it's my favorite book. Is called Hard Things About Hard Things, and in that book you have one quote saying that running a startup you have two feelings: euphoria or terror, which I would say is very true. And several times during these 7 years we've been on the edge. Will we actually come through this phase, or will we come out as a bankrupt company on the other?
And then with that said, you've had a lot of people that rely on you. You pay the salaries, they plan their year around this company and so on. So the terror mode, how has that felt for you?
No, but the terror mode it's how do you say, quite draining. You think about it all the time. You don't sleep that well, of course. Many times you have a situation that you don't know how to solve, and you need to have good people surrounding you to bound things with, and how to take it, how to solve that problem. So yeah,
this is something that many people don't want to live with. This feeling, they avoid it. They stay out of it. But you kind of stay in it. What's driving you to pull through? Because you could have said, screw this, I'm not doing it anymore. Sleepless nights, you've been sad, you've been feeling stressed. What makes you committed to continue?
I would say the people. The people and the mission that we have. Because when you create something that is also that not only do good for yourself but also have a higher purpose, it makes it very fun and interesting to go to the office. And it also allows us to bring in people that are extremely eager to change things, and that gives me a lot of energy.
So you really need to be extremely purpose-driven in order to stay in this.
Yeah, I would say that you need to be purpose-driven, but you can also be someone that, just like what you're doing and are really good at it and that fits in. So I wouldn't say that everyone needs to come in with the ambition to go, I want to change the world. That gives me an additional layer to the work that I do. I would say that to work in a startup, I think it's important to understand that it's not going to be a straight line. This is going to have ups, it's going to have downs, it's going to be curveballs, and that feeling can be, very exciting for some people, but it can also be very frustrating for other people. And then I think it's up to each and every one. Do you actually like that, or do you not? And how do you build that step by step in order to bring it up to a profitable company?
Being on this journey with you, I sometimes, it's like playing a Super Mario game, the Super Mario Bros, where you are the little dude that goes like jumping and running all the time and trying to jump over and get the flag over there and get killed all the time. It feels like sometimes we're like bouncing from wall to wall and dying every second. But still, we have loyal people in this company, and I think that we're not unique here. I think that this is like the startup mentality and where the investors are super important. How do you make the investors stay and continue to invest as well? Because it is a bumpy road.
Oh, for sure. And I think the good thing if you choose the right investors is that they know that. So they can also be, they can support you in order to take some of those hits. They have seen other companies go through it, so they have a lot of knowledge and learnings that they can bring into it. But then, of course, with any investors, it's a partnership, it's a relationship. You need to work on it. So you need to spend time. You need to make sure that you have that time to spend together with them, and making sure that you also can get that knowledge that them have, because it doesn't come. They can be in different countries, they have packed agendas, so you also have to make sure that you are on their agenda.
What are your top 3 tricks to make sure that you have the right investors on board?
Well, make sure that you have an investor that understands what you're offering. Make sure that you know what you want from this investor. Is it only capital? Well, then you have a lot more investors to choose from. Is it something else that will enhance? Then you're looking for very specific types of investors.
And number 3?
Be very clear with the investors on what you're asking for. We want this much money that we will spend in this way that will take the company to this step.
When I entered this realm of investment, there were so many new words for me. Do you have any tips and tricks how you can get into the investment lingo?
Yes. Read the book VC Deals.
Check. I did. It's good because you recommended it to me.
Yeah, well, it's if you're interested in investors, it's very good. It's deep. It goes down, explaining the lingo, explaining the different structures. So that's a very good. It's a crash course in how to raise money, how to understand, and how to speak with investors to understand the process they are doing. So I would do that. Because
actually, that's where I wanted to go. Because the book actually shows you it's a clear process.
Yes.
Everybody does it basically the same way. You go through certain steps and you need to push through all of these.
Yeah.
So it's like milestones you need to do.
Yes.
So how do you get good at it?
You practice.
You practice and you do mistakes.
No, but it's like a sales process, right? When you go out and you start selling things, it takes you a while before you understand on how to run a good process. You learn from those mistakes. You talk to others. You can invite investment banks, even though I think it's better to go directly to the investors. But investment banks, this is what they do, right? They run that process. If it's for equity or for debt, they bring in the investors. They help you with the pitch. They do all of these things. By going out, speaking with investors, understanding what is important for them, you can build up and become better. So it's like a normal sales process. The more you do it, the better you get.
Do you have to have some money on your own to attract big dollars?
Not necessarily, but it certainly helps. If you put in money, then that creates a big trust with the investors. It's not necessary, but you might not have that money. But then you should be open with that and see, what can I put in instead? And that could be sweat equity, for example.
What's sweat equity?
So say that you would have a salary for $10,000 per month. If you say, I will go in and I will work for $2,000 a month, then the sweat equity is that difference.
Okay.
Or you will work for free, or whatever you have. But as long as you can put in something that makes sure that or gives the investor the trust that you are committed, that's very important.
When you're building a startup, what are the investment phases?
In general, you can say that the first one is usually with the friends and family. You have an idea, you want to start it up. You maybe have some money of your own. And then you need to fill up with some capital. Then it's usually your friends and family that chips in that money. You take that, you usually, reach a couple of milestones, you develop something, a prototype or an idea or a business plan, and maybe, get one or two customers on board. That gets you to the seed round. And this is where, you go to people that usually have a little bit more money, they can invest by themselves. And that's usually the first round that you do.
This is often where angel investors
exactly.
comes in.
This is usually where angel investors comes in. And then you follow a process. So like you usually have Series A, continued by Series B, Series C, etc.
Can you have Series F?
Yeah, for sure. And then you structure the deals and the shareholder agreements and in a way so that the later the round, the more, not security, but the higher priority you get in an event of default. For example, if you would invest in the Series B, I would default on the company, then the Series B investor gets their money back before the ones in the Series A, before the ones in the Series C, etc. So you classify it, and that's usually what you do in these rounds.
Is it different processes for each round, or is it basically the same?
The process is pretty similar. Like you want to raise capital, you want to raise it for a specific thing. If you want to, either to take the company to the next milestones, or you want to acquire something, or you want to develop something. So you need to bring in capital in order to do something. That's called the use of proceeds. What you're going to use the money to invest in. Then you go out, you find the investors, you get the investments, you start working on those next milestones, and either you have a cash flow positive company, or you need to go out and raise more capital, and then you identify the investor that is suitable for the next round.
So when you finish a round, that's when you see either you go cash flow, or you go that you really need to start thinking about the C round.
Yes. It all depends on what you want. Like you can be a cash flow positive company, but you still want to make a acquisition, for example, and need money for that. So you can go and raise capital in that sense, bringing in more equity, or you can raise it on the debt side as well. So it all depends. What do you want to spend the money on? How much money do you have? And what are the things that you're going to reach and use this money for?
So where are Baseload right now?
So at Baseload, we just finished our Series B. It's been a long process. We knew what type of investors that we wanted, so we spent a lot of time identifying those before we actually went out. Then next phase is we have our portfolio of projects where we're going to invest this money and then take them up to the next step.
You have to be a good visionary. You have to think about 5 or what? How long is the horizon you have to think?
Well, I would say it depends on what you're doing. At Baseload, since these projects are very long, we have to have a long horizon. If you're into consumer products, for example, that's not the case. Or if you're in IT solutions, that would be a different mindset or different things that you bring in investors for.
You know what I like unraveling when we're talking like this? It's very easy, we glorify certain bits and pieces, but again, it shows that it's a lot of hard work, it's a lot of footwork and stuff that needs to be done. And usually the elephant in the room, when you think of an investor, you see, money, money, money. You see, the celebrations and, that part. And there is a picture about the investors that is not very attractive. How does that make you feel? I mean, what I see here is a hardworking man that put a lot of heart into doing this work. How does that make you feel when you see,
investors saying no and not coming? Well, I look at it a bit differently. I would say that, the nice thing with meeting investors is that they want to buy. They are interested in investing. Their job is to find investments. So, if you can quickly identify who is not suitable or who doesn't fit, and then you go for the one that actually wants, you get a lot of love back because they want to invest. They want to find, they want to see if this is an alignment. So I see it as do you find a good fit? Because they are interested in investing, and hopefully they are interested in investing in what you are selling.
It kind of resembles the dating. You want to find the right partner. Yeah. You want to sell yourself, but not sell yourself too much. Find the balance. So you think that investors might be good
look at Shark Tank, for example. That's basically investor speed dating, right?
Yeah.
So you come, you have a couple of 4 or 5 sharks sitting there that want to invest, and then you have companies coming in pitching with different things, and different solution fits different sharks, right? So one of them are interested in IT, one is interested in consumer products, one is interested in something else. So how do you that's how it works. How do you find the right fit for what you are selling?
So matchmaking, basically.
Matchmaking.
Okay, so we need to go to my mom.
Let's go to your mom.
Yeah, let's go to Kristina Ilievska down in Macedonia. She does not have a positive view over investors and capitalism and that part. How do we transform the investor sector into a bit more human? Why do they have a bad reputation?
Well, I don't know, but of course there's been since it's a lot of money, also a lot of power sits there, and it's throughout the history then money have been going a lot to where it makes the biggest return. What you see a big difference today is that with a lot of investors really taking the energy transition seriously, not both as because they want to make change, but also because they see this as a very interesting area to invest in, where you can make a good return and you can make a difference at the same time. I think focusing on those who want to make a difference, that's what we should show Liliana, that these guys are actually working for a plant in balance and not only to make a return.
That's a good case. I will run that by her. We
Yeah,
have to do it together.
Feedback it.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I mean, there is good and bad in everything, right? So there will be good and bad people in everything. So I'm happy to give this airtime to show that there is a different side to what investment is. For me, it's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of investment of heart as well. Definitely. You've been mentioning a lot about finding the right and searching for the right. How did you do that when you got these investors?
Well, I think looking at geothermal, it's a lot of drilling, right? And the biggest risk sits in drilling. So could we find an investor that adds knowledge about this, how to work with these risks, and also willing to invest? Even though we have this risk, then it's the right investors. And of course, the companies that drill most in the world are oil and gas companies. They sit with all of this knowledge. They drill, up to 80,000 wells a year, while it's only 800 per year in geothermal. So I think there it was a very clear connection that here, if we can get these companies to invest, we can both get knowledge. They will understand what risk that we are facing, but they also understand how we can work to overcome that risk.
So how did you go about to find, in this case you're referring to Baker Hughes?
Both Baker Hughes and Chevron.
Yeah.
But then also like when we've identified that here's something that is going to be critical for us in the future, then you can start pinpoint them. You have Shell, you have BP, you have Equinor, you have Halliburton, you have Schlumberger, you have all of these companies. And then you rank them like these are the ones that we would like to have. And then, you do run a sales process. Who do we know in these companies? Do we know other people that knows these companies? Can we have a referral in? What would they be interested? Would that be a good fit? And then you run the normal process. But it before you start the process, you really have to think, who would be a good fit? Why would they come in? What could we gain from that, etc. So you have that clear before you start it.
So it's like a filtering process. Otherwise, it's going to be too much to work with.
It's going to be too many.
Yeah. Okay. Super interesting. Okay, Alex, so we've heard your perspective, but I also know one of the people who actually have invested in Baseload. So I'm actually curious to see if he says the same thing. So can we call him?
Yeah, let's try it.
Let's try it.
Yes.
Hey there, Magnus.
Hello, Magnus. It's Kristina from Baseload.
Hello, Kristina.
Hi. I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks.
Good. I'm sitting here with Alex in the sofa. I've been interviewing him about investments and how you have a good relationship with your investors, how you get the investors on board and such. And I know that you are one of the people who actually were the first to invest in Baseload Capital. So I just wanted to see if you have the same perspective. So my question to you is like, what should you do to get investments from a company? How do you become good at raising capital?
Well, I think there's very much you can talk about, but I think you have to have a good proposition for the investor. You have a proposal, you have a business plan or something you want to achieve, and then of course it has to fit with the investor's mandate and what they're looking for, and not least they have to like you. They have to want to work with you. I think that's a good starting point at least.
Okay, good. You actually checked off his first part of the list. So he was right about that, which is good. So how do you continue then? How do you make sure that it's the right fit?
Well, you don't until you start working with each other, and it's just that you have to get going, and you will run into hard decisions, and when you approach those decisions, you just do your best to make the best possible decision go to get the company forward, and you learn from those decisions about each other and how to work together. So I think doing things together and spending time to make decisions that's absolutely crucial.
Well, he was right on that one too. He said invest in the relationship and make sure that you have the right people on board as well. But that's good. So actually, what you were talking about, Alex, is true. Does it feel good?
So fantastic.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and I mean, we didn't prepare this, so I'm a bit I'm glad to hear that we said the same thing then.
Yeah, absolutely, you did. Checked off basically every box and ticking the box. But I'm also curious. I mean, we're also this is a show for someone who wants to learn how to invest. Do you have any like good tip for the people who are out there? If you would say like your first top 3.
Well, take your time. If you're an investor and want to invest in something, take your time. Meet with a lot of companies and most important entrepreneurs, because at the end of the day, it's the entrepreneur, it's the team that's the most important thing. And you usually say if you have a bad idea but a great team, the great team will solve the bad idea and come up with something better. So it all starts with the team basically, and it takes time to learn, get to know people. So take your time, spend a lot of time with different people, and sooner or later you will realize like, we should do things together, and then that's when you invest.
Well, thank you, Magnus, for this great contribution from Gullspång Invest. It actually made us even more enthusiastic about this investment process.
Great.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you,
Have
Magnus.
a good day. Bye.
Bye.
That felt good, right?
Very good.
He basically confirmed what you were saying.
Yeah, but he also touched about one thing, and that's the time. Because you should never underestimate how long time it takes to raise capital, and how to run this process. And I think that's something that everyone should bring with them as well.
So if I conclude from my side, it takes hard work, a lot of footwork, preparations. It takes a lot of heart. So make sure that you're invested, because it's going to be ups and downs and terrors. And in the end, I guess that you need to enjoy when actually you can celebrate.
Yes.
Final things. Is it more terror than euphoria, or is it more euphoria than terror?
No, I think it's more euphoria than terror, definitely. But there are, the terror part does exist, so you need to be able to cope with that.
So the terror is pretty dark.
It can be very dark.
So good to celebrate when you actually can.
For sure.
Okay, good. Well, thank you, Alex, for this lesson in investment. I hope that you also learned a lot of things throughout this episode. Maybe you have an idea that can make the world a better place. So use this and make sure to go and pitch for it, because you can be a part of the switch to a greener economy as well. Make sure to subscribe, share this episode to someone else that you care about, and also take care of yourself. And if you can, Emil,
someone else.
Thank you!
To work in a startup, I think it's important to understand that it's not going to be a straight line. This is going to have ups, it's going to have downs, it's going to be curveballs, and that feeling can be, very exciting for some people, but it can also be very frustrating for other people. And then I think it's up to each and every one. Do you actually like that, or do you not? And how do you build that step by step in order to bring it up to a profitable company?
What are your top 3 tricks to make sure that you have the right investors on board?
Well, make sure that you have an investor that understands what you're offering. Make sure that you know what you want from this investor. Is it only capital? Well, then you have a lot more investors to choose from. Is it something else that will enhance? Then you're looking for very specific types of investors.
And number 3?
Be very clear with the investors on what you're asking for. We want this much money that we will spend in this way that will take the company to this step.